agree or disagree with the following statement? It is okay to be white.
No, that's not okay. It's terrible to be white.
No.
What should white people do about that?
There's not
Like,
much
what
y'all can do, but just gotta deal with it.
What should I do about that, do you think?
Try not to be white.
A lot of people that we would speak to today would call what you're saying racist.
Yeah, I am racist.
Are you serious? Or
100%.
so you just don't like white people as a whole?
No. No.
Y'all got too much. Yeah, y'all got
Who
too much
want to be
leeway.
white? That's awful.
No.
Okay, so why is that? Why is it not okay to be white?
Y'all have the race as a people. Y'all have done too much. I would
As a
rather
people?
Yeah, as a whole.
And it's a group of people.
Too much
that-
good or too much bad?
Too much bad.
The majority is not.
Is like bottom of the barrel, really.
All right, guys. So y'all remember how a couple weeks ago Scott Adams went viral for stating that white people need to get away from black people who hate them, okay? In response to a poll from Rasmussen that found that almost 50% of the black correspondents said that either they don't know if it's okay to be white or they don't think it's okay to be white. In response to that, Scott Adams says, hey, well, if that's the case, then you would define that as a hate group, which, I mean, hey, I'm just saying, if somebody doesn't know if it's okay for somebody to be of a certain race or doesn't think that it's okay to be a certain race, isn't that textbook racism and hate, right? And bigotry? I mean, like that would be textbook what it is, okay? But apparently there are only some groups of people in this country that are able to get away with what we call racism, because Scott Adams, what he said was deemed as racist, right? They didn't focus on the poll and the results themselves. The shock from that poll that you would find that many people that would say something like that about white people. No, they didn't focus on that. They focused on what Scott Adams said, and they effectively canceled him, okay? Dilbert got canceled in a lot of newspapers. His cartoon that's been around for literally decades got canceled. The guy has now been smeared as a white supremacist, okay, and a vile racist, right? This is what they've smeared the guy as. Now, on the liberal / progressive left, they say stuff like this all the time, right? They make it very clear that they want segregation, okay? That white people are evil and that it's probably best if so-called people of color segregate themselves from white people. And that's not exaggeration, right? That's not me making it up. That's not me, trying to make it more than what it is. No, that's literally exactly what they say. Like, for example, you have number one white liberal or progressive race hustler on the left, Robin DiAngelo, who is the white woman version of Ibram X. Kendi. She said in an interview that is going viral that she believes that black people need to get away from white people. Yeah, she goes full Scott Adams, right? Except in reverse, stating that black people need to get away from whites. Take a look.
And I'm thinking about Beverly Tatum's metaphor of the moving walkway. Mm-hmm. So there is no neutral place. Inaction is a form of action. If you are not actively interrupting the system, you are colluding with it. And sometimes I tell white folks, okay, the reality is you're probably not going to do anything different as a result of this conversation today. I mean, I'm sorry to say that that's often a significant amount of white people. And that's a choice that we have. But if it's a choice that you're going to make, I would ask you to look yourself in the mirror, look right into your own eyes and say, I choose to collude with white supremacy. And then carry on, but let's do it with honesty. There's no neutral place. Yeah, and what I would add is that in 2023, we have to see the ability to engage in these conversations with some nuance and some skill as a basic qualification. And if you can't do that, you're just simply not qualified in today's workplace, no matter what school you went to and how, acclaimed you are. If you don't have these skills, and we have to truly see it. So many organizations have the diversity question, if they even have one. And it's one question with no weight, and no one on the hiring committee even knows how to assess a good answer. So if you see it as a true qualification, you'd be willing to say it's a failed search, and we'll go again, but we're not going to settle for less than what we say we value.
There are risks. We know throughout our history, this work does not come without risks. It does not come without sacrifice. It does not come, without pain and unfortunately violence.
So this is where I just remember tipping point theory, which is Malcolm Gladwell's theory that you don't need everyone. You don't even need 50%, that tipping points happen at 30% roughly. And then I think, all right, I can do that, right? I can at least go for that and not expect that I can get everyone. But what I want to do is create a culture that actually spits out those who are resistant, as opposed to what it does now, which is spit out those who want to break with white solidarity and contribute, if that makes sense, right? And then I'm a big believer in affinity space, in affinity work. And I think people of color need to get away from white people and have some community with each other. And I'll let that go and maybe see if anyone else wants to pick it up.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. The great white progressive savior of the colored folks, right? Robin DiAngelo declares that black people need to get away from white people, while also at the same time telling white people that if you work together, right, then you are colluding with each other for white supremacy. Okay, now tell me how that works. Okay, if white people or black people decide to get away from white people, wouldn't that leave white people alone just to, I don't know, basically work with themselves, right? And apparently that's wrong. That's wrong, according to her, because white people are only supposed to work in favor of trying to bring up so-called people of color, right? That's your one job as a white person in this country, is to bring up people of color. And if you're not actively doing that, then you are a racist, okay? You're a racist. You're either anti-racist or racist. There is no in between. But again, she's telling black folks, hey, move away from whites. Again, so I'm trying to figure out how does this work? If black people are better off being away from whites, then how are whites supposed to work in anti-racist ways to help blacks? Again, this doesn't make sense. This is illiberal logic. But we see this happen all the time when it comes to these so-called progressives. They make absolutely no sense whatsoever, especially when it comes to this race conversation, right? Because they believe not in equal rights, but in special rights, okay? It is totally fine for a so-called person of color to be as racist as they want towards whites and even each other, but it's not okay for a white person to be racist towards a so-called person of color, okay? There's things that you can't say as a white person, for example, like the N-word, that you can openly say if you're a so-called colored person or a black person, and again, it doesn't make sense, right? It just doesn't make sense for a variety of reasons, okay? White people cannot collude among themselves, right? White people can't have their own clubs, okay? You can't have an all-white thing. If you have an all-white event, then it's like a KKK party, according to the left, okay? That's what it is. But if you're black and you have an all-black event, you know, all Asian event, all Hispanic event, or whatever, that's celebrated. That is diversity and inclusion. You know, again, we know what the real definition of diversity and inclusion is. It is less white, right? Less or basically no white, okay? The less white it is, the more diverse it is. That's quite literally how they use it, okay? The less white, the more diverse. Because again, you can have a mostly white event, sprinkle in some colors here and there, 30%, 40%, and they will complain about it, saying it's too white, right? But if you have an all, you know, black event, all, you know, Asian event, all Latino event or whatever, and there's no whites there, they can be like, oh, this is diversity, right? This is what diversity looks like. It's absolutely amazing, man. It's absolutely amazing the mental gymnastics that these people go through to justify their worldviews, which are totally just nonsensical, right? They're nonsensical. They don't make sense. They're built on these double standards. This idea that whites are so superior that they have to be held to this almost impossible God-like standard because they're all powerful, right? Therefore, they can't play the game the same way everybody else plays the game. Everybody else has to get handicaps when they play the game, right? The white man, you gotta, you know, make sure that not only does he not get a handicap, he also gets actively held back by discrimination, right? Just actively saying, look, we need things to be less white, therefore we have to discriminate against whites to make it less white, right? That's what's happening here. That's what's happening. This is what these race hustlers want. And again, this person right here is doing or saying the exact same thing that Scott Adams said. Okay, hey, maybe the racists need to get away from each other. Now, I disagree with that. I don't think that that's the case. I think that the race issue in this country is not nearly as bad as the media makes it out to be, right? I think it seems bad because of what we see on the internet. But I don't think it's that bad, right? In the sense that we're not living in the 50s and 60s anymore, okay? We're living in 2023, okay? Society, for the most part, in most cities is pretty diverse, okay? Now, there are problems with that. There are issues with that, clearly, but I don't think those issues are racial as much as they're maybe, I don't know, cultural, right? Cultural and political, okay? So all I'm saying is that Robert DiAngelo can openly declare that black people need to get away from whites, and that's fine, right? That's totally cool, okay? That's acceptable. Again, this is the liberal privilege that these people get. They can say whatever, okay, about whites, okay? But if a white person says that, hey, whites need to get away from blacks, that's hate speech. That is hate speech. Now, will Robin DiAngelo be canceled? No, she's not going to be canceled. She will still be invited to, speak and to sell books, and, she's not going to be canceled. She's not going to lose her career over saying basically the exact same thing that Scott Adams said. She said the exact same thing. Black people need to get away from whites. What does that sound like to me? That sounds like racism to me, right? The idea that the white man is evil. And black people have never had anything good come of being, with white people, right? I've heard this from the woke revolutionaries, which I think is an insult to all light-skinned people. If you're mixed, that's like hate speech, right? That's like hate speech towards mixed people. I'm just saying, man. Again, these people on the left, they can just get away with saying the most racist stuff. Doesn't matter what it is. They won't be canceled. They won't face any punishment. Like, there's clearly a double standard here. Okay, and that's what really drives me crazy about the race conversations. That, look, if people want to go back and forth with each other and say racist stuff to each other, and people really want to fight out a race war, which I don't think is necessary, but if there are people out there that do think it's necessary, hey, y'all have at it, right? I'm not going to participate in a race war because I personally don't have any beef with anybody because of their race, okay? I don't have beef with whites. I don't have beef with black people, Asians, Latinos. I truly love everybody, right? I believe that voluntary diversity is good, right? I think voluntary diversity is better than segregation, but I think that forced diversity has a lot of problems, right? And I think that is what we're experiencing in this country. Forced diversity causing some problems and some issues, right? Now, again, voluntary diversity is great, in my opinion. But, again, the double standard is what I hate the most, okay? What I hate is that you have certain people allowed to say stuff that other people can't say. One side is allowed to say their piece about race issues, okay, and the beef they got with other races, then the other side should be allowed to openly say their piece about race issues and whatever beef they have with the other races or whatever. You either can have all of it, you can have none of it. That's the problem here, right? The problem is that the left can have all of it, and everybody else, basically white people, can have none of it, okay? They can have none of it. And it's just, I think it's just a disgusting double standard. I really do. I hate it. So, yeah, as you can see here, this person, I guarantee you, will not be canceled. She won't lose any money. She won't lose any speaking gigs or anything like that for essentially saying the exact same thing that Scott Adams said. Amazing. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.